Hello, everyone. This is Aditya Mehta, and you are listening to podcast on personality development. Love language is an interesting language, but honestly, many people, including me, doesn't know much about it. So, in this episode, we have a love language linguist, a person who has created a new way to demonstrate the principles of love language. Interesting, right? So let us learn what is love language and what are its principles. But hey, before starting today's show, let me tell you that you can now become a community member of this podcast, and even you can add values in people's life by suggesting ideas, asking questions to the guest of the show, and you get to know who's coming on the show well in advance. So all you got to do is click on the link in the description and you can join the WhatsApp community. Also, now you can download a free sample read of my new upcoming book. Yes, I'm writing a book with 15 short stories in it, giving morals on communication skills. And in sample read, I have included three captivating stories which will give you a great morals and tips on articulation, social anxiety, and empathy. So make sure to download that for free. Instructions are in the description. Now, without any further delay, let's get started. Hello and welcome back to today's episode. In this episode, we are going to learn what is love language and what are its principles from the love language linguist, Mr. Paul Zolman. Hello, Paul. How is it going?
Great, Eddie. Good to be with you today.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. I do know we have scheduled multiple times, didn't really worked out. Sometimes, it was my computer issue. Sometimes it was the internet issue which came in. But finally, we are over here recording this show, and I'm really, really happy about it. So, it's just wonderful to have you on the show and talking about a topic which it is completely new for me, and I'm pretty sure it would be new for large number of audience on this podcast as well. So yeah, if you can first thing, if you can give a brief introduction about yourself, and then
Mhm.
we can go ahead and kickstart with the show.
Great. Thank you, Eddie. And I appreciate that. It's very something that's very near and dear to me is trying to learn about love. The people of India really know how to do that, and it seems very natural for you to do that. For me to describe the languages of love might be very, very elementary, but it's actually something that is kind of a scientific as well as more historical about the languages of love. It was developed by, at least the concept, the principles were developed by a person by the name of Dr. Gary Chapman. Now, he's a reverend or a pastor of a church, and he developed these thinking that they would bring us closer to Jesus Christ. Now, I understand many people listening to this may not be believers in Jesus Christ, but he's a really, really good man, however you look at him. We believe him to be the savior of the world, but other places believe differently in the world, and I understand that. But these these principles of love are what Dr. Chapman had mentioned is that every one of us has a way that we like to be loved, our favorite way to be loved, and sometimes other things that come our way that could be labeled love, we say they're nice rather than saying that they're love. So he realized that there's 5 different ways that people like to be loved. Some people like the touch. They like the hugs. They like the kisses. They like the strokes on the cheek. They like the pat on the back. They like the handshake. They like the fist bump. They like the high five. They like that physical touch. And with that physical touch, they feel loved. They just feel, maybe it's from when they were born, that were on the bosom of their mother. Maybe that's why they feel that physical touch is really a way that they love to be loved. For men, especially, men like that physical touch, and it's something that they just like. The next love language that I'm going to talk about is service. Some people like their car washed. Some people like their car gassed up. Some people like the carpet vacuumed. Some people like the laundry, help with the laundry. Some people like the yard work done. So those people like service. Any type of service that you would do to that person, what's going to happen is after you do that service, the way you discover what they like is they'll light up. Their eyes will get big. They'll get really happy. That's what I'm calling they're lighting up. So when they light up, that's when you've discovered what their primary love language is. And then you just take a mental note of what that is, and then you can repeat that over and over again and build that friendship based on that information that you got on that particular day. The next love language I want to talk about is time. Just spending time with someone, sitting down and being present. You put your phone away and you're actually engaged with that person. You're all in. Just focus on that person, what they're talking about, and you're just engaging. Those people like time. They like to just hang out sometimes. Sometimes you don't even have to be talking or anything. They just like to be with someone and spend time with someone. That's time. And that when you spend time with someone, they're going to light up. They're going to say, I really liked that experience with you. I really liked being with you. And I don't want to go home now because I like being with you so much. That's kind of the phraseology or the words that people would use describing people that like time as a love language. Those people that like time may not like the service, or they may not like the physical touch. They just want to be with someone. So these could be, you might have a double flavor of some of them or not. The next one I want to talk about is gifts. So a gift is kind of the umbrella for all the love languages, in my opinion. That they don't have to be purchased, but a gift could be as simple as a smile, or a could be as simple as making dinner for someone, or as simple as making cookies or making a treat for someone, something that they like, and you're taking it to them. When they receive that gift, they light up, and that's when you know that they really like gifts. A lot of people like gifts, especially around Christmas time, if you believe in Christmas. So that's gifts. And the last one would be the words. People like to hear compliments. People like to hear the words "I love you," and that really lights them up. That really, it charges them so that they feel loved when you say the words. So, for example, Eddie, let's take for example a husband that likes the touch, and a wife that likes the words. One day the husband decides he's going to get a gift for the wife. The wife doesn't like gifts, but he's creative now, and he writes a note, puts it in a box, wraps that box together, and gives that to his wife. When she opens the gift, which she doesn't really like gifts that much at all, she doesn't feel loved when she received a gift. But when she opened it up and there was a note in there with the words from her husband, she was ecstatic. She was absolutely very excited about that. So that's kind of what that looks like a little bit.
Wow, that's really amazing. I mean, uh, you know, now I feel I definitely knew about it, but I never thought about it. These love languages, like the five love languages which you specified, that is touch, service, time, gifts, and words. And one being articulative, like you gave a wonderful example over there as well. That husband becomes more articulate and creative about how to give a gift to his wife, and she definitely loves it because her love language is somewhere the words, and she likes to hear words, and see words, watch words, I would say. So that's really amazing. And I do believe that most of the times it's really difficult to identify what the love language is. Sometimes it just clicks instantly, and sometimes it doesn't. So, you know the very first thing which I would definitely like to ask you is about the principles, or a new way which you have developed to demonstrate it, if you can share that first, and then definitely I have some more questions as well.
Okay. So I've discovered that there's really a problem all around the world about this communication, about communicating how you love another person. Because if you only like physical touch and they're sending words to you, you'd say, well, that's nice, but it's not what I don't feel loved. I mean, it's nice, but it's not happening for me. So what I created and to your question, Eddie, I created a cube that I put the different symbols for the love languages on. Right now, on the cube I'm holding up for Eddie, there are two hands touching one another. Obviously, that would represent touch. That's the love language of touch. The next one I'm holding up is there's a hand that is holding an hourglass. The hourglass is major time, so that would be the representative of time. That would be the love language you practice that day. Now I'm holding up a server in looks like a restaurant. He's holding a plate. That represents service. And I've got two hands together now that are forming a heart, very, very common symbol on any social media that you'll see right now. But in addition to that, hands holding together, making a heart, there's a little conversation flout like you might see in a cartoon, that these are the words. So these are the words from the heart. That's what the symbol for words. And then the last one is that a hand holding a gift. That would be the gifts. There's 5 love languages, 6 sides on the cube. The last side I created with a hand with a question mark. Now that question mark just means surprise me. So on that day, you're just doing random acts of kindness. So there's just 2 instructions, Eddie. You roll the die every day. Whatever it lands on, that's the love language you practice giving away all day that day. Now you're giving it away without any expectation of it coming back, trusting the universe. There are laws out in the universe that say that if you plant a seed, you're going to get a plant and you'll be able to harvest from that seed. Or the law of karma, or the law of attraction. Several laws out there already placed in the universe. We don't have to do a thing about it. It's already out there. It says that that love that you send out will eventually come back. It may not come back right now. It may not come back immediately, but the law of the universe says that it's going to come back. So just trust in the process that it'll come back someday. What you're watching for, Eddie, is that you're watching for people as you're practicing that genre of love on that day. You're watching for people that light up. When they light up, you've discovered what their primary love language might be. That's how you do it. Dr. Chapman, in his book, has a survey that people would take, and then from that survey questions, he could determine possibly what your love language is. It's a survey. I mean, you can skew a survey, and you say, I know this is a survey. I can answer the questions however I want, and it's just going to come out with a different outcome. But for the most part, this method that I've just shown you, by rolling the dice, practicing that love language, watching, observing, using your observation skills, is a more accurate of what they like. They're going to light up when you're doing something that they really like, something that they love and they've loved. It'll be either their primary or a secondary love language, but it'll be right toward the top right there. And you just wash, rinse, repeat. Do that over and over again for the people that you're associated with. then you'll be buddies with that person. You'll be friends for a long, long time, and they could become very close by observing their love language and practicing that to them. So that's kind of how you express the love just daily. By doing this over a 30-day period, and this is really important, Eddie, you will have learned all 5 love languages to give it away. As you're giving this away, you're becoming familiar backwards and forward of the love language. What that does for you is improve your ability and skills to see it when it comes your way. You can say, oh, that's not my primary love language, but I can see that they are loving on me, and you can respond appropriately to that. This will help in the communication breakdown in a lot of close relationships, but also in distant relationships. People that you don't even know, you'll see them sending something your way, maybe a compliment or something. Oh, they might like words. They're sending words to me. They're loving on me. And you can send that right back to them. Makes the world a whole lot better place, a lot more peaceful than it is otherwise.
Wow, that's wonderfully explained. I mean, this is a great concept as well, and I'm really excited about it as well because in the world which we live in, okay, especially today, there are certain love languages, and sometimes you do things where you have turned someone's love language into a hate language as well, and that is something which might occur. So for example, if someone's love language is words, okay, and let's say he or she likes a compliment, and on that day itself I say something which probably wasn't right for that person, and from that day onwards that person starts to hate me, let's say. So what can we do in these kind of situations, because what happens is you do practice love language, but in a practical world where you have to say certain things, when you have to do certain things which gives a clear message, and sometimes it makes you, I mean, it does make the other person feel that you're being rude, but ideally you are not being rude, you are just being direct about what you want to say to them. So at this point of time, what would be your suggestion?
Eddie, that's a great question. Thank you for that. It's really kind of complicated when you're trying to work with this person and they're not cooperating. And I would think that you try to treat them with kindness, regardless of whether they get angry or not. I think what my problem was is I grew up in angry. I grew up in an angry family, and it's a culture all by itself. That the vocabulary words are angry, the humor is angry, the game plan is all angry. Everything that they do is really kind of angry, and it's kind of a negative, uh, just a negative attitude about that whole system. I wanted to break out of that culture and find out what is the loving culture. What is it that what are the love languages? What is that loving vocabulary? What is that soft humor that doesn't hurt people and doesn't bite into them? And I think that if we're careful with our words, they will know our intentions are not to hurt them. And when they know that our intentions are pure that way, that our intentions are to send love to them, then they'll understand that we're really not that person that would try to hurt them. And I think that's number one, understanding that we're not out to hurt anybody. We're out to uplift people, to help them on their way, help them have a better day, to make their day. A lot of times when you're sending this love out and you're lighting somebody up, you've made their day. And because they feel happy that you made their day, they're going to share that all with their circle of influence as well. And their circle of influence also is going to be happy about that. And it just spreads happiness. If, on the contrast, if you send anger out, that is like a boomerang that you send up into the sky. And when it comes down, the gravity is making it come faster, 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 right to you. And you're going to get that anger right back, maybe multiplied 10 times worse than you send it out. Why would anybody choose to do that? Why would we do that? Yeah, we do it all the time. we send out words, and what are we hoping for in that regard? It's just better to send out love and loving kindness, that and just watch water those type of plants. What I found in this whole process, Eddie, was that I used to look at others and say, what's wrong with that person? Why are they doing it that way? And think that I had control over their choices and over what they did. And I had ability to make a judgment call on that. I realized that it's not my call. It's not my life. They can make their own choices in their own life. So I stepped aside and drew that boundary for myself, because obviously I did not have that boundary before. Angry people don't have very many boundaries. They'll walk over you in the conversation. They'll talk when you're talking. And it's just that type of culture. You got to draw the boundaries and say, I got to stay in my lane. What my lane is now is watching for the good of people. What's right about that person? What can I love about that person? Instead of saying, what's wrong with that person? And I can guarantee you that most people are 80%, maybe to 90% good all the time. And there's that 10% or 20% that sometimes they'll make choices that wasn't such a great choice. But for the most part, they're mostly good. Why was I focusing on a weakness? Or why was I focusing on a fault that was just a very narrow percentage of who they are? Not really who they are at all. Because if they're 80% good, that's really who they are. And so the new mindset is to focus on what's right about that person. What can I love about that person? How can I uplift that person to have a better day?
Wow, that's really amazing. Couple of things which came in my mind when I was listening to you. It is sometimes very much blissful to hear the same things. And it's quite spiritual as well. To talk about the right things about others as well. So I go to a spiritual community of Lord Swaminarayan. Okay, and over there is one sentence which I have learned particularly, and I feel that that is one thing which I have to live on, and I try to live on that particular statement, that બીજાના ગુણોનું દર્શન કરવું and પોતાના અવગુણનો ત્યાગ કરવો. So that's a Hindi line, basically a Gujarati line, that you have to make sure that you notice only good things about others and bad things about yourself, and try to make sure that you surrender those bad things and try to take on the good things which other people have, observe good things about others. And I believe that's a wonderful thing to say over here as well. Also, I've read this in the book Think Like a Monk, by Jay Shetty. And in that book also he writes that whenever my friends talk about a person who says, like, he's not doing well, he doesn't come on time, etc., 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 at that point of time I just go into the conversation and say, hey, you know what, he actually completed the entire project well before deadline, so something good about him. And breaking the negative chain which was going on into the conversation, I believe, uh you saying that, talking about good things and observing good things about other, and what's right about them, is really something which I can completely relate with. And I am really glad that you said that. It's a wonderful statement, and I believe it's the best thing to practice that on a daily basis.
Mhm.
So yeah, thanks for saying that. However, I have this one more question. Okay, and this is like when you are meeting someone for the very first time, you know and you know that, you kind of have a traction towards that person. Maybe it's from the opposite gender, or maybe it's the same gender, and you admire that person a lot, and you want to create a strong friendship as well. But when you're meeting them for the first time, it's kind of hard to identify what their love language would be. And that's what I feel, that it might be hard for a person who has just started out to understand love language. uh, so the first meeting, and if someone wants to identify what the other person's love language is, what can they do to identify that?
That's a great question, Eddie. No one's ever asked me that. So, a very unique question as a podcaster. So, my hat's off to you for that. When you're first meeting someone, usually you're talking or you're saying hello, and you're not actually going in for a hug and say, "Oh, it's just so nice to meet you," and you're not hugging them right at that moment. So, the obvious, you're not practicing physical touch in that way, but you might do a high five, or you might do a fist bump, or you might do a handshake, or you might do about. You just have that presence there. And what you can do is your words. Use the words and watch if they light up with the words. And you start out maybe one love language at a time, but you would start out with the words, and find something about them. Maybe they have some really really cool shoes that they wore that day, or maybe they have some glasses that are designer glasses, or maybe they comb their hair in a different way, or they have a fancy new haircut. Something about that person that you're going to remember, not only their name, but you're going to remember who they are, and what they represent. Something that you can ask them, a question that you could ask them, and start the conversation off with a compliment. When you start the conversation off with a compliment, you're opening the door to more that they're going to open up. If you start with an insult, it's going
Hmm.
to close. That door for any interaction is going to close, and you say, well, I don't associate with anyone from New Delhi, or I just don't associate. I mean, if you say something like that, you're closing doors. Start
Hmm.
with a compliment, open the door. That opens the door to more conversation. And with that more conversation, you'll find these common points, common bonds, things that you have in common with that person. And then you'll develop that bond. You'll start that bond, and then you'll be able to continue that way.
Wow, that's wonderfully said. And the moment you said, it's a unique question, because I have experienced that. And I'm not going to say the entire story though, because quite embarrassing. But it's really amazing that you said about it, that you can start with a compliment, and that opens a door to a lot of interaction which is going to come afterwards. So that's a great way to start, and I'm sure I'm going to keep that in mind, because I do meet a lot of strangers going on a solo trip of mine. So I'm definitely going to practice that. And as I recollect as well, whenever I've started with a compliment, it has always turned out that I do have a strong connection with all those people with whom I've started with a compliment. So that's a happy realization for me as well. And that's just wonderfully said. And I really I'm amazed that why haven't I have used it multiple times. When I saw it was a success, but I feel I did knew about love language, but I didn't know the concept is known as love language. But that's a great way to say things. I mean, I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. An audience, uh, you know I always sit with a pen and a diary, so that I can write down certain things which are quite important to me. And I hope, as I mentioned this in every podcast episode, I really hope that you are sitting with a book and a pen to write down all the important things, which is going to add a lot of value in your life as well. So I really hope you're doing that. If you haven't done yet while listening to this episode, pause the episode, grab a book and a pen, and then listen to this intentionally, because you are going to get a lot of value in your life. And it's definitely going to pour more love into your life when you try to give love into the society as well. So make sure to do that. I believe that's gonna add value in your life, so make sure to do that. Going ahead into the conversation, um Paul, this is going really nice, and I have like couple of more questions, I promise. Okay. The very one first question which I would like to ask is, it's really important to know what your own love language is sometimes, because somewhere you have to treat yourself as well, because there are times where when you are feeling low, there are times when you are not feeling right about yourself, and nowadays the mental health is a major thing nowadays. Like, people suffer burnouts, they suffer from depression, they suffer from imposter syndrome, they suffer from a lot of things. And I believe self love is something which plays a vital role in a strong mental health. So if people wants to practice self love and they want to know their own love language, what are some tips which you would like to give in that?
That's really a great question, Eddie. And I have kind of a different opinion of self love. A lot of people think that self love is self indulgence. I don't absolutely do not agree with that. That
Mhm.
self love is not self indulgence. To me, self love is just understanding and having that self actualization moment of what you like, what understanding what you like. And I think that that comes from giving away. There was a classic movie that was from the 60s, 1960s, called The Sound of Music. Many people have heard of The Sound of Music, but there's a line in that Sound of Music in one of the songs that said, "Love in the heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till it's given away." So really, to have that self-actualization moment, we have to give love away. When you make another person have a great day, or you've made their day for one reason or another, however you've done it, there's some satisfaction from doing that. To me, that satisfaction is self-love. That you're feeling love from them because they're so happy that you made their day. You're being loved by them because you made their day. That's how you feel the love. But you have to you did you follow that? You really have to give it away and make their day first, then it comes back to you. And I think that's really important. That's the process. We have to give it away first and then come back, and it comes back to us. Secondly, your second question about the depression and about people feeling down and out and just feeling awful about themselves. The best way to get out of that funk is what I'm going to call it. That funk is just an awful place, and the best way to get out of that is to go down the street, find find an assisted living home, or find someone. You can find them all over the place. Find someone that's feeling worse than you are, that's had a worse day than you have, and lift them up. When you lift them up, that also is going to lift you up. That's like lifting together. When you help that person have a better day, you're going to have a better day as well. And if you consistently follow that practice, you're not going to get better sitting at home waiting for someone to come love you. It's not going to happen. Just remember that it's not going to happen. You've got to go out and send love out and then receive that satisfaction when you make someone's day. Whether it's someone that's lower than you, that you can lift up a little bit, they're feeling more depressed than you are, they've had a worse day than you are, whatever it is, you've got to lift them up first. Then that lifts you up as well.
Wonderful. You see, I do write down things as well, so I'm just taking my time to write, and that's a wonderful thing to say, I believe, because there have been times where I haven't been feeling well about myself after a tough day at work. And whenever someone said me that I need this, and I just give it to them, and just looking at them being happier, it somehow brings a smile on my face as well. And it's not a forcible smile, it's like a genuine happy smile which comes on my face. So I do believe that. And I'm pretty sure it's going to work out for a lot of people out there. I wouldn't say a lot of people, but I really believe that that's going to work out for everyone out there. So that's a great thing to say. However, I do have a follow-up question over here. People, when they have suffered from cheating, okay, when they have suffered from mistrust, when they have suffered for being taken for granted, those are the people who who don't believe in love anymore. They would be like, you know what, I have done enough for the world, no one is going to come for me, and so I'm not going to go to anyone now. Okay, so that's what they might feel during these times, because they have suffered from certain things. They have been, like, someone's partner has cheated on him or her, someone's best friend has broken the person's trust, okay, or something like that, some incidents in life which has happened, and due to which they have stopped believing in giving out love. Okay, what what is that one thing, or maybe couple of things, which you would like to say to those people out there who are suffering from this right now? They don't believe in love, but somehow they want to get back to give out more love into the society.
That's a great question. It's a very complex question, and I'm going to try to answer it as succinctly as I can. In that situation where people have given up on love, love is not the problem. The problem is the actions of another person, and it's the choices that they made. And remember, in the beginning, I said that's not your lane. It's not your lane to say, well, they did that. And if you blame someone for something, then you're not changing at all. You have no reason to change. And if that's what you're doing. So if you're playing the victim, and there are legitimate victims out there, but you can't play the victim. You have to move on in some way. And that's the moving on is the stop blaming someone, number one. Number two is it's not love that's the problem. It was the choices of another person. So don't blame it for love, blame it as the choices of another person. And you can find someone else to love. They're all around, and everybody's starving. Absolutely everybody is starving. We have love malnutrition problem all around the world. There's not enough love being sent out around the world. So let's fix that malnutrition problem, starting with us. Then go to your family. Then go to the community. Go to the state you live in, the country that you live in. Go to the world. Let's stop this malnutrition problem by sending love out. Love is not the problem. It's the choices of others that choose to do something other than love.
Well, that's wonderfully said. And you can see right now I have a bright smile on my face. I'm smiling ear to ear while listening to this. So, that's something which everyone needs to understand. Like, these are the things which are always there in the subconscious mind of everyone, but they are, somehow they feel uh, not very ready to comfort those ideas or those feelings. So I really believe by listening to this episode, they would be more ready to confront those ideas and those feelings because of you. So, thank you so much for saying that. I really really appreciate that. And now, the last question, I promise. We are almost at the verge of ending this episode, because every good thing has to end so that a new beginning can start. So, the very last question would be, if people wants to get in touch with you, if people wants to connect with you, and if people wants to ask more questions to you, how can they find you on the internet?
So the best way, Eddie, is to find me at the Role of Love It's actually Role of Love, not the ROLE of love.com. That's my website. But if they want to find out about the book that I've written, it's called The Role of Love. They can go onto Amazon and they can find the journal and they can find the book. If they're listening right now and like listening to books like that, I've also done an audible version of the book so that they can listen to it while they're driving or commuting or doing something else. They can listen to the book and they can listen to it over and over again. That's a great way to just ingrain these principles of the love languages into their heart first, and then go to practice it after that. That's probably the easiest way. If you're looking for a cube, you'll have to go to my website, the roleoflove.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's great. So, audience, what you can do is I will mention each and every link in the description. You are just a click away to get Paul's book and to get the dice of love language. And also, I'll mention his social media account as well. So, if you have any questions, please go over there, ask him, and make sure to let him know that you have heard him on Personality Development Podcast, so that he will definitely get back to you. I hope that's fine with you, Paul. With me saying it, we haven't discussed about it, but I hope that's fine, right?
Absolutely. Very, very good, Eddie. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So, audience, make sure to do that. Make sure to give him a follow. And I'm pretty sure it's completely worth it for changing your own life. So, make sure to do that. With that being said, this is Aditya Mehta along with Paul Zolman signing off from this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.